what's up? It's Fritz here with Statifying Football. This is your Week 12. These are the midday games, the 3:30 and the later games. Let's just jump right on into it. We got UCLA and Oregon. UCLA, they beat Cal 34-10. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 196 passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick, plus 52 rushing yards and a touchdown. Demetric Felton, 107 in rushing. Defensively had 5 sacks, only allowed 176 total yards. Oregon won a nice game against Washington State, 43-29. They put up 581 total yards. Tyler Shuff, 312 passing, 4 touchdowns and a pick, plus 81 rushing yards. C.J. Verdell ran for 118 and a touchdown. They did turn over 3 times. They can't do that against a potent offense for UCLA. Either way, I still kind of expect this to be pretty high scoring, but I'm going to say Oregon is the one that outlasts them in the end. Alright, then we got a big game in the American and even possibly for the college football playoffs. Cincinnati and UCF. Cincinnati is undefeated. They're number 7. They're only, 3 spots out of the number 4 spots. And if teams above them lose, which some of those teams will be playing each other, they could sneak in. UCF, they've been kind of the darling of the group of 5 the last 4 years. They're actually kind of playing spoiler right now. 4-2. Cincinnati, they beat ECU 55-17. Desmond Ridder, 327 passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 75 rushing and a touchdown. They had 653 yards of offense. Defensively, they had 4 sacks, 4 turnovers, and a pick 6 in that game. Whereas Temple, they beat Temple pretty easily, 38-13. Dylan Gabriel, 268 passing and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Robinson, 4 catches, 113. Marlon Williams, 4 catches, 102 and 2 touchdowns. I think he's the nation's leading receiver in terms of yards right now, or at least he was. He's up there. Defensively, they had 4 sacks, 2 turnovers. Now, UCF is actually leading the nation in yards per game. They're one of the tops in the nation in points per game, and they do lead the nation in turnovers forced. They forced 19 turnovers, and they're number 2 in turnover margin, which is plus 11. Whereas Cincinnati, they've turned over quite a bit this year. Now, Cincinnati's held some really, really good offenses down, like SMU and Memphis and Houston, but SMU held them to like 13 points and Memphis to 10 or vice versa, something like that. Now, this is a big, big game for UCF. If UCF can force some turnovers like they've been doing all year long, their offense is good enough. Like I said, they're number 1 in the country. They can really pour it on Cincinnati. So this is a huge, huge game to keep an eye on. All that being said, UCF has been giving up a little too much defensively. I think Cincinnati this may be pretty high scoring. I think Cincinnati may come out with a win, but this is a game you guys need to keep your eye on. For 2020 is a weird year, so a group of 5 team could sneak their way into a playoff, and this is that one team that could do it in Cincinnati. All right, Wisconsin and Northwestern, kind of under the radar. Both teams undefeated, both teams in the top 20. Wisconsin, they destroyed Michigan 49-11. Graham Mertz, 127 passing, 2 touchdowns, and ran for 341 as Wisconsin does. Defensively, they only allowed 219 yards and forced 2 turnovers there. Whereas Northwestern, they're still undefeated. They beat a good offensive Purdue team, 27-20. Peyton Ramsey, 212 passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Their defense only allowed 2 rushing yards to Purdue. Northwestern's barely getting it done with their defense. This will be a really, really even matchup, I believe, but I do think Wisconsin will have a little bit too much offense for Northwestern to overcome, but this could be a close game, maybe like a 24-21 or some weird score like 26-21 or something like that. All right, Middle Tennessee and Troy should be a pretty high-scoring Sunbelt game. Middle Tennessee, though, they lost to Marshall 42-14. Asher O'Hara was about all they had on offense, 241 passing and a touchdown, plus 39 rushing and a touchdown. They only had 303 total yards there. They turned over 3 times. Troy, their last game a couple of weeks ago against Georgia Southern, they lost to a close game, 20-13. Jacob Free, not great passing, 21-47, 201 and 2 picks. They only had 235 total yards. They had a pick 6 in that game. Both teams are pretty good offenses. Like I said, I expect this to be a pretty high-scoring game. I do think Troy does bounce back and wins this game. All right, Cal and Oregon State. Cal played their first game last week of the season against UCLA. Kind of went how I expected. They lost 34-10. Chase Scarborough's wasn't very good, 122 and a pick. Only had 176 total yards. Oregon State, they're 0-2, but they played their first 2 games against Washington State and Washington pretty closely. They lost to Washington 27-21. won. Tristan Gebbia, 11 of 24, 85 yards and a pick. Not very good. But Jamar Jefferson has shown out. He's one of the best in the country. And I think after a 120 rushing game last week, he ran for 133 and a touchdown there. And they had a blocked punt return for a touchdown. I think Oregon State, I think this will be a pretty close game, but I do think Oregon State will get it done a little more in this one for the win. All right, San Diego State and Nevada. A tale of kind of like last week. San Diego State, they played a high-flying Hawaii team and destroyed him 34-10 with their offense. Carson Baker, the San Diego State quarterback, was pretty terrible passing. 4 of 13, 30 yards, 2 picks. But Greg Bell ran for 160 and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 326 as a team. Defensively, they had 7 sacks, forced 3 turnovers, and a pick 6 in that game, which helped them hold a high-flying Hawaii team down. Nevada, they're kind of like that too. They're an air raid offense. They're 4-0. They beat New Mexico 27-20. Carson Strong, 336 passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Romeo Dubes, 5 catching, 172 and 3 touchdowns. This is strength versus strength. San Diego State always has a really strong defense, nationally ranked defense. Nevada's got a really strong offense there. I'm going to go with San Diego State again. I went with their defense last week against Hawaii. I think maybe their defense can hold down Nevada a little bit here. Maybe they can get that run game going. If they get any kind of passing game, if San Diego State just gets anything going passing-wise, they should be able to win. So I'm going to go San Diego State get there, but this is a big, big game in the Mountain West Conference. All right, Iowa and Penn State. Iowa, they beat Minnesota pretty bad, 35-7. Spencer Petras, 111 passing, a touchdown on pick. Tyler Goodson ran for 142 and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they had 4 sacks. Zach Van Valkenburg had 3, and they forced 2 turnovers. Penn State is 0-4 this year. They're not looking good. They lost to Nebraska 30-23. Will Levis, it was terrible. 14 of 31, 219 passing and 60 rushing. Pat Freiermuth, 7 catches, 113. They actually had 501 total yards in that game, but they turned over twice, including giving up a fumble return for touchdown. However, a lot of that was trying to come back. They were down like 24-6 at one point in this game, so a lot of those yards were just kind of coming back yardage. I have a hard time putting Penn State 0-5, but I might have to do it. They're kind of struggling, and Iowa's always a really strong Big Ten team. They're consistent as heck. So I got Iowa winning that. All right, Kentucky and Alabama. Kentucky beat Vanderbilt 38-35. Terry Wilson was efficient, 13 of 15, 110, 2 touchdowns, plus 83 rushing and a touchdown. Chris Rodriguez ran for 149 and 2 touchdowns, and ran for 308. If they want a chance to beat Alabama, they got to get that going. Bama hasn't played in a couple of weeks. They beat Mississippi State a few weeks ago, 41-0. Mac Jones, 291, 4 touchdowns. He is a Heisman candidate. Najee Harris, 119 rushing. Devontae Smith, 11 catches, 203 and 4 touchdowns. Defensively, forced 3 turnovers, had a pick 6 in that game. I don't really think this will be close. Alabama is looking like a national title contender, and they should make quick work of Kentucky. Kansas State and Iowa State, kind of a decent Big 12 game. Kansas State, they lost a couple of weeks ago to Oklahoma State, but only a 2-point loss. They lost 20-18. Will Howard was okay passing, 10 of 21, 143 and 1 touchdown and a pick, but he added 125 rushing yards and a touchdown. They actually outgained Oklahoma State 370-256, but they turned over twice, including allowing a fumble return touchdown. That was the margin. Iowa State, they beat Baylor a couple of weeks ago, 38-31. Brock Purdy, 164 passing, 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. Tale of 2 halves for him. He had 3 interceptions in the first half, 3 touchdowns in the second half, which allowed them to come back and win. Breece Hall, I think he's the nation's leading rusher, or he's right up there. He ran for 133 and 2 touchdowns. They did turn over 4 times. They don't want to do that against a normally fundamentally sound Kansas State team. I don't think they will as much again, so I'm going to go Iowa State there. But this will be a close one. Kansas State they're the weirdest team over the last 30 years, basically. These kinds of games, maybe they shouldn't win, but they do. So this will be another close one. All right, Virginia playing Abilene Christian. Virginia, they had a nice win against Louisville, 31-17. Brandon Armstrong, 203 passing, a touchdown, a pick, plus 60 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. They were actually outgained by over 110 yards, but they were able to force 3 turnovers, get 4 sacks, and got a pick 6 to win. They shouldn't have much trouble with Abilene Christian. Virginia Tech and Pitt, pretty big ACC game. Virginia Tech lost a 1-point loss to Miami, 25-24. Hendon Hooker, 202 passing and a touchdown, plus 59 rushing yards and a touchdown. Defensively, they had 6 sacks against Miami. Now this is kind of tale of both defensive lines. Virginia Tech normally has a pretty good defense. Pitt has one of the best defensive lines maybe in the country. Pitt, they beat FSU a few weeks ago, 41-17. Pickett, 210 passing plus 1 rushing touchdown. Jordan Addison, 11 catches, 127. Like I said, they had 7 sacks themselves against Pittsburgh, 3 turnovers and a pick 6. This really could be a slugfest of a game. Both teams coming in off of 6 and 7 sack games from their defense. Really, I think this will be Virginia Tech slightly just because I think Hendon Hooker is a little more mobile. He may be able to get out of some sacks a little more than Kenny Pickett can for Pittsburgh. So I'm going to go Virginia Tech very, very slightly here. All right, Georgia State and South Alabama. Possible shootout there. Georgia State, they lost a really close game to Appalachian State. I thought it would be close, but I thought it would be higher scoring. They only lost 17-13. Cornelius Brown really was kind of off his game, 11 of 33, 152 and a touchdown, and that's partially why they had that 4-point loss. South Alabama, they got throttled by Louisiana Lafayette, 38-10. Desmond Trotter, 133, passing a touchdown and pick. They were pretty much doubled up yardage-wise. I do think this will be pretty high scoring, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Georgia State, although that literally could go either way. So those are my 3:30 games. Check out my primetime ones. Go back to check out my new ones. Peace.